Welcome to the Political Matrix News.
Hello, folks. This is Greg Fink here with the Political Matrix News broadcast, and along with me tonight is Jonathan Cole. How you doing today, Jonathan?
I'm here.
You're here. Well, I think everybody else is here too. It's the July 3rd. It's the eve of July 4th, and by the time this is airing here, it'll probably be on July 4th. And so, let's go ahead and talk about real quick about what's going on out there in the news. I guess the big news of the day is still about the immunity issue. And the Supreme Court giving presidents and all other presidents complete immunity, which is constitutional for official acts. Because, if it's an official act and everything's done properly, there's nothing to be immune from. It's all following the law. So you're all good, right? Or do you think there's a different definition of all this?
Well, define official act.
Well, I think official act is anything that's legal. I don't think Watergate would be an official act because it's burglary and breaking into your opponent's,
Yes,
campaign headquarters. I don't think murder's official act. It was done for, ill gain and not for the protection of the state. That's what we call wartime and everything else. And assassinations that are done for the protection of the state and protection of our freedoms. That's a whole different type of thing than just assassinating your opponent, like the Justice Sotomayor was mentioning, and her dissent is that basically he equates that to where that can happen now and be fine. I don't think so, because assassinating anybody just for ill gains is still murder.
Who's going to prosecute?
You can't just have Navy. Well, you can't just order Navy SEAL 6 to go out there and kill civilians or kill political opponents. Navy Team Navy SEAL 6 is there to protect America and defend and uphold the Constitution, as everybody else in the military is there to do.
Who's going to prosecute it?
Who's going to prosecute it?
Justice? No.
Well, most likely UCMJ courts.
Teaching? No, they're not going.
Probably military courts will probably charge or investigate any type of thing that a military act has done.
They have no jurisdiction.
Who has no jurisdiction? I said Navy Team 6 was out there attacking or killing people, then the military justice system will be trying it. Now the civilian.
Well, when the order was issued by the commander-in-chief.
Exactly, it would be a UCMJ issue, and it would be a military issue and everything else, which would be an official act. And the thing is, I don't think that what are they going to do? Killing political enemies is not the definition of an official act, unless they're enemies of the state.
Well, the way this is left now, that's up to the courts. That's exactly how they put it.
It is, exactly. So it's up to the courts.
So
it empowers the courts greatly.
Cannon was ruling on that. He would say, oh, yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's an official act. So,
really, the people who they should really be talking about empowering here are the lower courts that got empowered.
They just kicked it.
They did. The
Supreme Court did what it has done all along, is kick the can down the road and they punted it back to the lower courts. Like,
exactly,
you figure it out, So
because that's in their jurisdiction to do that. The lower courts
that's also called usurpation of responsibility. Just make a decision and stick with it. And all apologies.
They did that with Roe v. Wade, and look, you guys are all pissed off about that. They're trying to save a whole bunch of babies' lives nationwide, and you guys got pissed off with them sticking to their decision about getting rid of Roe v. Wade and kicking that back down to the lower courts. They stuck with their decision.
They made a decision. I'll give them that.
Exactly. They stuck to it.
And now they're not. They just kicked the can down the road because what this is still all about is about Donald Trump. And
no, it is not. That's what you want it to be about.
They can't tell him election year. No. 3 of them that they owe their jobs to him. This is what it's about. So instead of making a decision, we're going to kick it down the road so as not to offend the Right Honorable Donald. And that's what all of this is about. Because, first thing he does is like, oh, we can throw out my conviction in New York. Well, no, you can't because,
that's That's kind of funny there,
no,
actually.
that's not what this is about. So, this was debated in the 70s, and all apologies to Richard Nixon. The court didn't help him out. Rehnquist, was a fair juror and ran a tight ship, but he wasn't guilty of the burglary. He just covered it up.
Exactly.
So this decision kind of also rules out Section 2 or Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution. So where does impeachment come in? I mean, what high crimes and misdemeanors? How do you figure that out?
Because high crimes and misdemeanors are like the impeachment issues they were talking about were non-official acts. I mean, those were issues that were against the Bill Clinton's issue when he was impeached.
Well, on all the remaining indictments that Trump has, they're all high crimes and misdemeanors.
Okay. There's only been a few impeachments out there, so let's talk about them. The impeachments with Bill Clinton, that was about perjury in a civil court. It had nothing to do with any kind of official act. The impeachments against Trump, or basically they're saying that he was being treasonous and he was being an enemy of the state. And so they're saying that he was acting outside of his purview as the president and basically making an official act unofficial, and that's the way that they looked at it. And so basically the whole idea here of official acts or anything that would be doing with the governing of the country, the impeachment shouldn't have happened. In fact, impeachment with Trump, both impeachments actually do follow under that, and neither one of them should have happened at all. I mean, Trump was more or less on a phone call with Ukraine trying to make a deal, and that was not an issue here that was impeachable whatsoever. Nothing like our current president who's funding Hamas and funding people who are killing Jews by the thousands and millions, and who wants to kill them.
He's funding the Israelis. Sorry,
he's funding both of them.
No,
he's funding Hamas as well for humanitarian.
Where's that money coming from?
So it's part of the bill that you guys were pushing. The Democrats were pushing for the border. Is $10 million to Hamas and a little bit more to Israel. $20 million to Israel.
So the federal government's writing a check to Hamas.
Yes. That's part of the bill.
Payable to
who? To Hamas. Yes. That's part of the bill. Yeah, actually it is. It's part of the funding bill for the Middle East and the Ukrainian bill. 60 some odd went to Ukrainian, 10 went to Hamas,
should go.
And 20 went to Israel.
Money did not go to Hamas.
It did.
We don't fund both sides in a fight.
Well, yes, you do. Well, Biden did.
No, Biden didn't do anything.
Well, Biden did fund it.
It's a bill that came from a Democrat.
So the Congress, the United States Congress did as well, with a Democrat and Republican support behind it, and that was one thing that was very controversial.
Said Bill, I don't usually tend on what I hear on Fox or OAN.
Well, it's not what I hear on Fox. It actually is done on CNN as well, and MSNBC and Newsweek, and I know the U.S. Library of Congress, because that's where all the bills are.
I'll go look it up on.
You go look it up. You look over your fucking Wagnalls. We'll go ahead and talk about it next week and everything. And we'll go ahead and bring it up because we actually talked about this a few weeks ago.
It's not going to Hamas unless it's approved by Congress, and so
it's going to Hamas for humanitarian aid. And Hamas doesn't do humanitarian aid. Well, Hamas basically takes the money, funds it, buys more weapons, and kills more Jews. That's
been going on for 150 years. Sorry.
Exactly. And so why do you give them money?
Yeah.
Why keep funding it as the whole point?
Because we've always done that.
And that's much more of in my opinion, much more of an impeachable offense. Everything else. I mean, Obama giving Iran all that money and everything else is an impeachable offense, in my opinion.
Why?
Why? Giving any enemy of the state that funds terrorism
and trains terrorism. At war with Iran?
Yeah, I think we're kind of at a semi-quasi war with them, yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the axis of evil, man.
This is all Republican viewpoint stuff.
Patriot Act,
Congress approve that money?
Catch up. Do what?
To Iran?
Do what?
Did Congress approve that money to Iran?
Order. An executive order.
He can't fund an executive order, not a spending bill.
That's kind of the whole point.
That didn't happen that way. This is still right-wing.
No, it's not right-wing propaganda. Basically, you're just trying to go ahead and say everything here is spin because it's an election year, and y'all are trying to say this whole immunity thing is about Trump Yeah, it was brought up because of Trump.
Well,
It
it is
also
about Trump
affects
because he
it
makes
affects
everything
Biden
about Trump.
now. It affects Trump. It affects Biden. It affects the next president, and for the
Well,
future and
that's the
everything
scary
else.
part. Is it affects the
And
next
basically, all it
president.
does,
So,
is basically keep the Constitution in play, and keeps it strong because they're talking about official acts. They're not talking about rogue acts of
we haven't
murder
defined
or
official
vandalism.
acts yet.
Well, the official acts are going to
In
be
Trump's
defined
mind,
case by
anything that
case.
he wants to do is an official act.
But it's not up to him to define it. It's up to the lower courts to define it.
Well, they're
That's
not
the whole
doing
point.
that.
Well, it hasn't been brought up yet. It's only been a few days here. Give it a chance.
Well, actually, it is because it means either the DC court is going to move forward or they're not. So we'll see.
Well, I already don't know if they are or not, but
Well,
I doubt they
the
will.
thing is or the let's talk about that the documents case.
Oh,
It
that's
was
over.
illegal for him to remove documents from the White House.
Yeah, that's not
when
going
he
to
was
happen.
no longer in office. So
That case won't come
that is
back.
not an official act.
That case will not come back to Earth until January of 2029.
Well, I know, but that's the whole point. It's still that's not an official act.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I'm
right.
going to take tons of somewhat classified documents and store them in my bathroom.
Right, along with what Biden did and Pence did
I
and
only
other
had a
people
few
did.
boxes.
Biden had a lot more boxes than a few. And so the whole
Well,
point is that other presidents have done the same type of thing.
not to
And
that level.
anyway, other presidents have done the same type of thing to nearly that level, and
Not
hasn't
to
been
that
punished
level.
the same way. The biggest problem we had here with the classified documents is that Trump wanted to hang on to them and get argumentative as he always wants to do. They were trying to take them back from him, and instead of complying, he's not very good at complying nicely and easily and peacefully and lovingly. He likes to argue and he likes to prove his point. And so that's I think the biggest rub on the entire facade and the entire prima facie evidence of the entire thing.
Well, here's the other Pandora's box that the court opened with this decision.
There's no Pandora's box.
Article 2, Section 4, relating to impeachment, isn't just about the president. It's about the vice president. It's about members of Congress. Do congressmen have immunity?
Actually, it probably will now.
That's exactly what we're setting up here. The impeachment didn't just apply to the president. So now I guess,
I mean, and that is dangerous. I mean, we have a Congressman, Matt Gaetz, who we talk about frequently on this show, and for him to have any type of immunity,
he wants to be president.
He wants to be something.
No, he wants to be president.
And whenever he gets done playing with all the little children and I mean not little like under or minor, but like the younger adults that he hangs out with and everything else, whenever he gets done with that part of his world and he grows up and wants to be a big leader and everything, like a governor or a future national leader of some sort, then it is worrying about it. I don't know if he wants to be president or not. I think he probably wants to be governor or speaker of the house or something like that. Who knows?
His dad has repeatedly publicly said he wants to be president.
Well, his dad is also very old.
It doesn't matter. He's the one that has funded and marshaled this.
He's also running for state senate right now. He has his own election to worry about with those god awful ugly signs he has.
So
you see those signs? You sent me a picture of them.
Yeah,
they're horribly ugly.
Not to mention he doesn't. He's which Gaetz? You didn't say.
What's that state senate?
I know he's running for state senate, but let's hear your first name too. But
yeah,
let's talk about that 8 years from now, 12 years from now, President Matt Gaetz. Oh, that was a
not talking about that.
We have to. That's the whole point.
I mean, it's a ruining of the 4th of July.
This country is worrying what happens in the future.
Well, it's going to ruin my 4th of July weekend. Well, I mean, the whole thing here about Matt Gaetz.
That's the repercussions of this case. I'm trying to make the point.
Well, I understand. Okay, you're trying to make a point here that this immunity thing.
Lots of people that don't agree with. Lots of people don't agree with President Matt Gaetz could end up upside down in the ditch.
Yes, I know. Allegedly, they do, and it is a definite worrisome issue to have because that's not a family to play with, really. I mean, they play for keeps. They're a very solid, strong political family, and they're dangerous to a degree. But the biggest thing that can take down all dangerous families is the truth and the consistency of it. And he has some pretty good opponents out there that are running against him with on the Republican primary and also on the Democrat general election. I mean, Gabe Alamont, we interviewed earlier, she has a really, really strong chance of actually, turning a very reddish district into something other than a red district. And I think there's a lot of possibilities and in play there. And Aaron Demick, if the way he's campaigning is very interesting, and so he's more or less campaigning like he knows something's going to happen, so he doesn't really have to campaign. And so, and they're, his team is privy to a lot more information than we are, and so I mean, that might be the case. I mean, there might be a situation here
Well, I
happening
mean,
with Matt Gaetz that we have no idea about.
his campaign is run by Matt Gaetz' least favorite person. So yeah.
Yeah, and so obviously the way they're playing everything is so close to the chest with not having any type of signs or any type of regular campaign collateral material out there. It's very interesting how they're doing it, and obviously they know a lot more than we do, and so hopefully they're right, and we are wrong, and it's going to be really good.
But I just think that the Supreme Court's decision was kind of knee jerk and
It was knee jerk, yeah, I will say
one
that.
person in mind, and they don't consider the repercussions. Whenever you knee jerk on a political response, it has repercussions. I'll give you another
Yeah, I know
example. In
Democrats
the
do that
late
a lot.
'40s,
So,
when the Republicans finally got control of the House again after the Depression, the first thing they're like, we can't have another Roosevelt, so we're going to put term limits on the president. And 8
exactly.
years later, wish we hadn't done that because Eisenhower could run again. You have to look at the repercussions of these actions.
Right, which a lot of people don't do.
So, um, if Trump wins again this year and he's got 4 years, and the thing with him is reality is what he makes it. So he's going to think everything's an official act. I mean, he's already publicly.
But it's not up to him to decide what's an official act. So that's actually the good part is that it's not up to the individuals doing it. The courts will stop them.
What courts?
They will.
He's defied every court so far yet. He's broken every gag order. He's
stopped them too, because otherwise, I mean, look, I mean, the entire idea of the stealing of the election and all the votes and all the fraudulent votes, the court stopped them totally by not even looking at the evidence to even see if it exists. They never even gave them a chance to even see if the evidence is in that packet. I mean, they never opened up the packets to look at the evidence.
Didn't have a chance.
No, there was a lot of evidence out there that they were taken to courtrooms, and the courtrooms were basically dismissed the whole thing and didn't even want to hear it. They didn't want to hear anything about it. And that being said, I mean, they did stop Donald J. Trump from being reelected as president by not doing a single thing in their judicial power to actually see what a court case looks like. Because they thought the whole thing was whimsical.
Court cases that failed?
Yeah. A lot of those court cases, they never even opened up the files to see what the evidence was.
Because it was thrown out because there was no evidence.
Oh, no, it's easy to say there's no evidence whenever
would say,
it's only easy to say.
See what you've got. Trump's lawyers would withdraw the case. There was no evidence. I'm still waiting for Pillow Guy's evidence. He's got this mountain of evidence. Apparently, he's going to show it to us in 2031, or Giuliani. He's got these mountains of evidence. It's the internet. Put it all over the internet. Let's see it. Either that, or you don't have it.
It doesn't work like that. You know that.
Yes, it does.
No, it does not.
But there were 66
It works like that for people who say,
and every single one of them.
Who say, show us or prove it whenever they know that, that's not how you handle evidence. You don't just expose everything on the internet whenever you don't.
Again, there were 66
Otherwise,
cases.
Every single court case in the world that people had evidence that got denied it'd be all over the internet.
But out of all
Because
66,
that's not how it works.
none of them, there's a reason for that. Especially when 18 of them were withdrawn by the Trump team when they were told, hey, you know what? Let's look at the evidence. Go ahead, show it. No, we're out of here. There was no evidence. It was all meant to stop the process and to keep Trump in office, just like January 6th.
So.
You know, we're going to incite this riot and we're going to hold up a constitutional process just because Trump refuses to admit he lost.
So 18 cases out of 66 did that, correct?
I think that my math's correct on that. But the rest of them were pretty
cases.
Much, you don't have. We're talking about federal courts.
You're talking about extreme minority here.
State courts.
You're talking about
we're talking about judges that were appointed by Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, a lot of people like the appointments, and then they bite the hand that feeds them all the time.
Well, no, maybe it's called upholding justice.
Oh, really?
Let's just go out. The 2020 election was not stolen. Donald Trump lost.
Okay, we'll close this segment with that, but we will open a few other segments here down the road with countering that possibly. But we're going to go ahead and take a break here real quick on this segment here for the Political Matrix News, and we'll be right back.